Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. I am your host, Madison Malloy. This is episode 198. And on this episode, I am sitting down with Xen Sams, who is a actress and radio and TV personality. She has an amazing show called A Moment of Xen on iHeart Radio, also on FinTech TV, and all these other platforms, which she will mention at the start of the show. We are talking about work-life balance on this episode. We are also talking about how time management is critical to a less stressful life, especially if you're a working mother. How parenting logically is the best way. We're talking about if women can have it all. We talk about fasting. We talk about dating tips. If you're single, what you should be looking for. We talk about the statistics behind the rise of singledom. It's a very fascinating episode that I think you will absolutely enjoy. So I'm excited for you guys to hear this. And also don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. The more written reviews we have and ratings, more people can discover the show. So that helps us tremendously. Also, if you've enjoyed an episode, please share it with your friends and family. Our job here is to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. So if you have something that you've learned and you want to pass it on, please do that. And I thank you guys all for tuning into the show, for listening to it, to allowing this to happen. I'm so excited and so blessed and grateful for all of you. So we will be right back with our guest after this brief message. Thanks.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I'm excited to announce that my new book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, is now available online and in stores. You can pick up your copy today by going to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. This new book is a humorous self-help guide to help you remove the obstacles that are holding you back so you can take things less seriously and live a more enjoyable life. I'm so excited for you to read it. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back with our guest on this episode of Next to Madison. With us, we have Xen Sams. She has a wonderful show called A Moment of Xen on iHeart Radio and also on FinTech TV. So tell us about those shows.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's incredible to be on your show. I love it that you are podcasting about things that matter, things that are extremely important, not just to you and I, because we have a lot in common. That's why we're here, but to, I think, women in general and men who are interested and curious to find out, who these incredible guests that you bring on week after week are.
Thank you.
Thank you for your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I kind of jumped right into it. I love your show. I was recently on, so I want you to tell us about that so people can tune in if they don't know about your show. But you have such a wide platform that I'm sure many listeners have already listened to you.
Yes, we do. It feels like we've built an empire in less than 2 years. So the show launched in April of 2021, and it's called A Moment of Xen. It's on 710 WOR, which is iHeart Radio. iHeart owns 850 radio stations plus nationwide. So WOR is the AM talk radio station in the tri-state area. We cap pretty much talk radio in the East Coast. We're the #1 rated show on the iHeart block. We're reaching in excess of 15,000 listeners an hour. The show is called A Moment of Xen. And that's my name, Xen. It's short for a really, really long, fat Greek name, Polyxenia. So Polyxenia over the years turned to Xenia, and Xenia turned to Xenia, and Xenia turned to Xen. And so a good friend of mine, Frank Morano at WABC, where the show was originally supposed to be launched at, said, hey, why don't you come up with a show of your own and called The Moment of Xen? And he was the godfather of the name. So Frank Morano, big shout out to you. So Moment of Xen ended up getting created, and then we expanded to what the show will be. So it's everything: film, fashion, pop culture, cannabis, fintech, and health from the millennial mom's perspective.
I love it.
And then after the show is right of first refusal is iHeart. So they get the show first. They air it Saturday night, 9 to 10 p.m. on WR on the radio, but through your handheld, through your phone, you could, in my link in bio alone on Instagram, you could find links to listen to the live show. And then after we go live on Saturday nights, we go live Sunday mornings or Sunday afternoons, depending on which part of the world you're in. But Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. on the Pacific side, through Traverse TV, which is an OTA platform reaching close to 1.2 million listeners, subscribers over Orlando, Florida, in Hotel Row. And then we also go live over Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. She's phenomenal. She just launched her new platform called Your Home TV. And it's basically an OTT platform. We stream there 24/7. We have our own channel. So every time an episode gets released on iHeart, it then gets released the very next day on all the OTT and OTA platforms as a full-blown TV show. So we're a hybrid show. And Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV, we have our own channel, mox.yourhometv.com. But we cover everything that we just talked about, and then we subdivide the show into its own VOD channels. So the specialty channels, if we're talking about something health related, we have our own sub channel there. Anything fintech or blockchain or metaverse or whatever it is, entertainment, influencer, women related, disability awareness, you name it. So we cover. We're experts on the mic, essentially, and that's what we do. We week after week. We don't ever run. No reruns for us over here. It's pumping out content and information every single week, interviewing at least 5 celebrity guests every single week that are drivers in the industry, movers and shakers, CEOs, top experts. And it's funny because I was once called a snob show. Only because we have the snobs of the snobs and the experts of the experts on. Somebody said, you never have just your average individual. And I said, well, that's not true. We actually profile somebody doing incredible things in their own right, whether it's, women in business or on the philanthropy level. We give people a voice that don't really have one. But when we choose to talk about the industries that are disruptive, that are emerging, it's my job to have an expert tell the tale. It's my job, if I'm trending in edutainment, to have an expert address the audience. I just can't have somebody's opinion, because then at that point we're not proactive news, we're reactive news, and reactive news is not what I'm about. I'm about edutainment and really kind of empowering people. So if you're going to give me an hour of your time, you'll learn something, and that's the basis of it all, edutainment in a fun way.
Yeah, I like how you said that. That's a good way, because it's like you want to be entertained, but you also want to take something away that's going to benefit your life. So who's been one of the most influential guests that you've had that kind of just blew you away?
Oh, geez. I've had so many guests that have been incredible. I have to say that there's one specific interview that I didn't, again, going back to demystifying the stigma. So her name is Abigail Adams. Okay. Abigail the Advocate is the handle she goes by all over social media, and she has Down syndrome. And she came on the show. She's 22 years old. She came on the show with her dad. She was completely conversational, defied all odds. She's a triathlete in the Paralympics. She's engaged. She's getting married. She's a keynote speaker for Google. She is just really paving her own way and leaving a trail. And she's an uplifting story to not just people in the Down syndrome community. She matters above and beyond that, because she's all about really defying all odds, demystifying the stigma, educating the public, and giving a voice to the Down syndrome community, where there's so many stigmas that are widespread about capabilities and about intellect and about surroundings and about, social integration. But if you take a moment to just meet with some of the very interesting faces of Down syndrome, whether it's the parents, whether it's the caregivers, whether it's the siblings, you'll come to find out that it's such a beautiful and blessed community. And that extra chromosome is almost insignificant and has changed so many people's lives and empowered people. But we as a society, we're trained, and I say this because a lot of us are very sheep-like. We just listen and react and then absorb, and then we become zombies to the information we're ingesting. We hear about Down syndrome, and then we're, oh my goodness, if I had a child, and if I knew that I was carrying a child in my 5th month that had Down, perhaps I would abort or try to do something. We have all these crazy thoughts that run through our mind because of everything that we have learned, right? Through media, not through research. So I always say to people, You can't let media be your source of news and information. If you're really going
Yeah.
to want to be an expert, you have to educate yourself in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you can get your headliner news, but don't draw your own conclusions. You have to really, really do the digging. So that
Yeah.
it's kind of about bringing voices there. So Abigail, female trailblazer, disability awareness. She was probably one of my most impactful interviews personally. I interviewed Kimberly Guilfoyle. She's engaged to Trump Jr.
Yeah.
I talked to her about what it was like being a mom, what it was like being um, the tail end of fake news in many respects, or news spinning headliners just to make
Mm-hmm.
money off of her and her family, or in the reverse. I mean, there's media manipulation taking place across all boards, but um, it was very interesting to interview her and her perspective on life, and continually wanting to give back, and just being an example to many women in the Republican community who have the same sentiment she does, that are patriotic, that want to make America great again. And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. We've
Right.
learned in the last, I want to say, year, that you can't trust the government at all. Forget the
No.
Republicans or the Democrats. Look what's happened. Look at the embarrassment. I mean, you want to talk about declassified documents? Oh, okay, well, guess what? Now both sides are guilty of it. Now what? So now, as the American public, how are we supposed to react to that?
Uh-huh. No, it's so true. I mean, I never really trusted the government. I always, the problem is you give people too much power, it's hard to give that power up. So they're doing everything they can to fight to keep that power. So the government really is not about the people, it's about the power. And once I
Yeah,
think people understand that, then they can understand and take it at face value and just
yeah.
say, okay, like they're trying to keep power. This is what I can do to make a change. Where can I make an impact in my community? That's why I always say, tune it out, turn it off, go outside. The world's a completely different place.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And as a mom, I say this to my daughter all the time. I have a 7-year-old daughter. Her name is Alexa. Uh,
Oh,
my stepdaughter, absolutely beautiful, stunning, gorgeous. Carly, she's at University of Georgia. She's going to be 21 this summer. My
oh,
stepson Jake, he's here in the city at Calhoun, a senior. And we have a very eclectic family. I've raised these children. I've tried to be a role model and an example, respecting boundaries, of course, of being a step parent, but also being extremely meaningful and
yeah.
significant in both of their lives. But it's truly about, when it comes to trust and whatnot, it's, you look at your family and you look at these kids, and this is the generation, and you want to give them the foundation to be able to pave the way for themselves, so that they're not dependent on this generation, us as parents, the millennials. And at the same time, you have to know when to parent logically versus emotionally. So there's a lot going on, especially women in business, and balancing the workforce and the work life. It's not easy.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So you run a very busy schedule. You've got a top-rated radio show, TV show. How do you find the balance? Like, do you find yourself overwhelmed, or like, what are some of the tricks you use to be able to stay sane, so to say?
So for me, it's time management. It's all about I kind of manage my schedule extremely tightly, like a ship,
Uh-huh.
where we can't deviate from the plan, because if we do, then it's a chain reaction. So it's all about respecting the schedule, respecting boundaries, having our family always, their needs come first, because if they're not okay, I can't leave and go to work. But at the same time, it's, I always say, too much of something is never good, right? So if you're too focused on only work, 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 then you're going to have uh, some kind of a negative ripple effect on your home front. And if you're only just about your home front, and you're abandoning your work responsibilities, then that's not good either, right? So you always have to find the balance. And for me, the balance is time management. It's about putting my daughter's needs above and beyond anything else first, because she's 7. We
Mm-hmm.
also have a little doggy little Shih Tzu that's in the mix there. My husband is a filmmaker and a producer in the industry, so he's constantly producing huge movies on set, on location. We're either traveling with him, or we're we're making a pact to never really be 1 week more, no more than 7 days away from one another. So if he's on a film set in Spain, I'll take the weekend and I'll fly my daughter down so she could see dad. It's been like this
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning of time, but again, it's it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, but just like anything that is great and amazing, I've been married for 14 years
Wow.
because I've put the time and effort into it. And I got married in my 20s, and my husband is way over a decade older than me. Not way over, but I mean, like, he's close to 13 years older than me, and he first of all, he's an incredible father, dad of the year, provider in every way, but he keeps young. You wouldn't look at him and think, oh, he's at the end of what it's like to be raising kids, because his two first children, of course, are 21 and almost 21 and 18. But he started all over, and we did it together, and it's
Yeah.
it's really about pulling through, and it's about making sure that both our careers are just as much of a priority as our families are. And really just sticking to the plan. If you stick to the plan and you don't feel that the grass is ever greener on the other side, you'll be okay, right? Because a lot of us
I
just,
like
we get
that.
bored, we get tired, we want more. This is not good enough. He's not good enough. She's not good enough. This job isn't good enough. This employer isn't good enough. I want to change a thing. And then you go out there and you make all these changes. You take 90 steps back to feel like you're going to take a big leap forward, and then you realize, was it worth it to upheave your entire life just because? Now, it's a very different situation if you are single and exploring and trying to really figure out what you want to do with your life. But we're talking about making sure that you have the stability on the home front once you do get there, to
Yeah.
pave the way for success after, and not just success for the family, but for the kids. Because if I'm not stable and I'm going through a crazy divorce, what's that going to do to my 7-year-old, or the 18-year-old? Probably not that much, but you would think not that much. But at the height of him going into college, probably a lot, if he's worrying
Yeah.
about what's going on the home front. So, you have to be rational and you have to time is cures all. And I I will have to say that, children are not logical parenting, they're emotional parenting. Nobody logically goes, hey, let's just have a bunch of kids and to put ourselves in debt and, spend the next
Right.
couple of years, being put second, third, or fourth and propelling everyone else and putting my emotional needs last. Like, that's not logical, but we do it because we parent out of emotion. We want the best for our kids. We will do anything for them. We will live, without to give them more. It's just the way it works. So,
Yeah.
so parenting, I always say, I know it's an emotional thing, but you have to be logical about your approach, about the decisions you're going to make, about how these children will be affected as a result of your emotional balance or imbalance. So it
Mhm.
all comes back full circle.
I love that. So, what is because I've talked about this recently a lot on the show. What is your morning routine? Because I feel like that so is a key factor in success.
So true. My morning routine. I wake up on the dot every single morning at 5:47. I don't know why. I don't even have to set the alarm clock. I look and it's 5:47. Boom, every single morning. And then I snooze myself. So I snooze my own body. I typically don't wake up with an alarm. What I typically do is the night before, I kind of tell myself when I really want to wake up. I will maybe preemptively set the alarm as a safety net, but I wake up before it ever rings. And
Mm.
again, it's your circadian rhythm. So back to what you said, there's a routine, there's a consistency. I'm of the mindset that you can't go to bed on a very full stomach because you just won't go to bed. So I naturally go through this fasting process that I didn't even realize that my body did throughout the years. And I'll talk to you about that in just a sec. But my morning routine is extremely consistent. I wake up, I take a very quick steaming hot shower. Steaming, like, I mean, like, you would think my skin is falling off because I just love hot showers. My husband comes in, he's like, you do realize the wallpaper is peeling off in our really, really nicely redone bedroom because you take these steaming hot showers. I was like, yes, that's just my
Yeah.
body. And so after that, I wake up and my pores are all, invigorated. I I go downstairs and make myself a double espresso. And then I come back upstairs and I get some work done. I get about an hour and a half of research done for that week, for that morning's guest. So usually I pre-tape my shows at times if I'm not live, Tuesday, Wednesdays. I'm at the Stock Exchange live for FinTech TV every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Mondays and Fridays are my prep days. So my morning routine looks very different when I'm prepping than when days where I'm at the Stock Exchange doing the live shows for FinTech. And now we're live on FinTech TV. That's a new addition to the lineup.
Nice.
Outside of Traverse TV, outside of Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV, we're now on FinTech TV. If you could just go to fintech.tv. Our show, A Moment of Zen, is live actually every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. on FinTech TV. And then we're also live for special stock exchange interviews and inserts throughout the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm part of that lineup as well. So lots going on that front. Yeah. So the routine looks different. After I prep, right, then I wake up my daughter. She has to be in school by 8 o'clock. She doesn't live too far away from school, so we're good. But it's a mad rush between, I want to say 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. to get my daughter out the door. And then by 9 a.m., I'm typically in front of the microphone or the screen or ready to go if I am recording from home. And if I'm not, I'm at the Stock Exchange by 8:30 a.m., which means that I have to be up at 5 a.m. to leave my house by 6 a.m. because I live in New Jersey. And to get to the Stock Exchange over the GW Bridge, even though on the best day, no traffic is 30 minutes, on the worst day, it could be 2.5 hours in the morning. So we got to get up very early before the ring of the bell at the Stock Exchange, because we do all the FinTech and the blockchain shows live from our FinTech TV booth at the New York Stock Exchange.
That's amazing. So it's a little bit different based on your schedule, but I think the key element is you start early.
Extremely early.
Which is, I think, is such a good thing. I found over my interviews and research I've done that the most successful people really start their day between 4 and 6 a.m.
Exactly true. And I walk the dog in between all that. I always say to people, it's a whole new world between 4 and 6 to be able to, or 5 and 7, right? To just wake up a little bit earlier. I wake up at 5:47. Sometimes I have to wake up at 4:45, right, to get to the Stock Exchange at that time, because there's no way to get it all done. So I've lived and completed a whole bunch of other tasks by the time 8 a.m. is coming around and everyone else is waking up, right? That's how I always see it. So if I want to be ahead of the game, I need to be ahead of the schedule. So if I'm a leader in my field, if I'm an example in my industry, if I am above the rest, trending for whatever reason, that's because I've put in not just 1 or 2 extra hours. I've put in an entire half a day's work in some capacity. So I always say I'm running out of time. I need 3 other me's and I need at least 5 more hours in the day. And, everyone says you got to slow down. Well, listen, you got to slow down only to the effect that it's disrupting your life. You don't have to slow down if you're on that amazing hyper train where everything is finally balanced in your life and you're just getting the feel of what it's like to reap the rewards of the seeds that you planted in the last 24 months or 48 months. And that's very different for everyone across the board. It's very different for you. It's very different for me. But it's extremely important to help women in the industry, because right now women are still a minority. Okay. And 42, if you look at businesses across the board, 42% of all US businesses are owned by women. That's about 13 million. Okay. So women-owned businesses, if you break this down, employ over 9.5 million workers. So women are 3 percentage points more likely to start a business than men. So that's another interesting fact. But when you look at who's making more money and who's getting the loans, it's men first in line. But female entrepreneurship, it's on the rise in developing countries as well. So we have made strides, because it's not just locally here in the US. And I always advocate for female entrepreneurship, because that will pave the way for not just women, but for the generations that we are raising right now. We're raising children, Gen Alpha, Gen Z right now. These children are subject of COVID-19, they've witnessed things that we have never witnessed in our lifetime. They have
I know.
mental health issues as a result of that, and it's another silent killer. So if you empower women, you'll be able to empower the children that a lot of these women, us women, are raising, because it's not the, I mean, sure, it's on the rise. Stay-at-home dads, men are raising children, but not moms. So, you have between 8 million and 10 million small and medium business sized enterprise across the developing world. They have at least one female owner. It's important to know this because we need to keep aiding the female path. I mean, look, outside of the agriculture sector, you have about a third of women around the world, they're self-employed in informal work. And this tends to be home-based stuff, right? Like small scale and focus sectors like retail and service. But, working from home allows a lot of these women to satisfy this really competing demand for their time. And this includes a disproportionate share of housework and childcare responsibilities. I mean, disproportionate, like really. And then and some of the obstacles facing women entrepreneurs in these developing economies include a lack of access to finance and legal inequalities, right? Including restrictions on owning and managing property. Some women in certain places of the world are not allowed to own and manage property. They still have a long way to go. So here in the US, we have a little bit better, but globally, it's not so easy. And only 1 in 3 businesses globally are owned by women. And this is according to the World Bank, right? So obviously we need to step up the plate here, and we need to get women at the forefront of owning their own business and paving their own independence.
Yeah, no, that's amazingly said. So do you think, in your opinion, women can have everything? Like have it all?
I don't see why not. I do
Yeah.
think women can have it all. I think with the right mindset, you can have anything you want, right? Regardless of being a
Yes.
woman or a man. But to feed into the stigma that your question is coming from, can you have a career and a family and be happy and do this and do that and still have your independence? Yes. I in many respects, it's a great question because it reminds me of the blessings that I have, that and how far I've come. So
Yeah.
I have an incredible husband who's extremely successful, who is an amazing provider, who's so supportive of everything I do and my career. Never asked me once to pay for a single thing in the house, although we both make good money. And so that is extremely, rewarding. Not that I think men should pay it all. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I make a very good living and so does he, but he doesn't expect me or need me to contribute to his ecosystem, and I don't need him and expect him to contribute to mine. It happens harmoniously. We have, a biological daughter together and 2 amazing children that I've helped raise, that I've defied all odds against, the evil stepmom talk. And believe me, it wasn't easy. He went through a
Yeah.
really, really tough divorce. It was not easy. Both, mom and dad at the time when he was divorcing him and his ex-wife, they were going through a lot of stuff in their own right. And I learned a lot from watching that transpire and living alongside that. Was there bitterness? Sure. Did we overcome it? Yes, for the sake of the children. Are we all happy? Yes, we are. And the idea is, I stopped working a little bit when Alexa was born. And so let me backtrack. Can women have it all? I was a working model and actor when I met my husband. I was not doing this in any capacity. I was not a radio and TV talk show host. I was not on iHeart. I was not trending in this capacity. I was in feature films, and I still am. In fact, I have a movie with Samuel L. Jackson coming out this summer. Sorry,
Congrats.
it's actually not with Samuel Jackson. The Samuel L. Jackson movie already came out. That's called The Banker.
Okay.
That was Apple's TV's first movie that they bought from Romulus Entertainment. I was in it. I played Judith White. It was Samuel Jackson, Nia Long, Anthony Mackie, and Nicholas Hoult. The movie coming out this summer is called Tin Soldier, and that's with Jamie Foxx, Robert De Niro, Rita Ora, Scott Eastwood, and that's a really, really cool, fun, I would say, action
Yeah.
thriller.
Okay.
Jamie Foxx plays a cult leader. So I'm still in
That's
feature
awesome.
films. Yeah, I still work as an actor very much. I ended up doing this by default when I was promoting one of the movies called The Protocol that I was in, that now is in development at a huge network, that I was the lead in. I played a CIA agent. And then as a result of promoting that short film that won the New York Short Film Festival that year, I ended up getting a position on a show called Liquid Lunch in 2019, owned by Newsmax. And I was live over 80 million viewers and 70 million mobile devices, bringing everything women empowerment, everything. It was Women Wednesday, Fun Fridays. And I ended up getting that gig as a result of promoting the protocol and coming on as a guest. They asked me to stay and basically anchor down my own segment, which I did. Huge success, anchored throughout the pandemic, did all the remote shows, and then iHeart came knocking on my door and offered me my own show. Actually, WABC offered me the show first, and then I ended up with iHeart. So this ended up being a kind of like a born out of the pandemic, serendipitous, joyous intersection with where my career was headed versus where it's now. And I just kind of let the universe take its course. Built my own studio in my home in New Jersey. We were between iHeart headquarters on West 55th and my home studio. That's where the show is born first. And then after iHeart takes it, disperses it, it goes to all the other outlets. So my husband is, an amazing man. My family is incredible. I'm finally at a place where my career is where it feels great. I love acting, and I still love that world. But as a mom, this is so much more fitting for me because I get to meet new people every day. I speak with the most brilliant of minds, the most incredible influencers, still talking to all the celebrities and actors. I still maintain my film schedule, but I do this every day. And every day I learn something new. So I should have an honorary PhD in something because the amount of information I ingest on a daily level is next level. I mean, for real, we've clocked in over 10,000 hours on air, over 1,000 guests. And remember, we're only a once a week show, but once a week, 4 guests a week, really high powered show that breaks down into sub shows, and they basically syndicate us over all these affiliates. So there's a lot going on. But yes, to answer your question, can a woman have it all? I think so. Why not?
I agree. And somebody had asked me that question. I mean, I don't have children. I have a dog, a 4-legged child, but I always said, I can't speak from that perspective, but I do think from my friends that you can have it all. But the key is you can have it all, whatever everything or all means to you. So define what everything means to you and then make it work. And you can have it all, because you can't have something that is irrelevant to you and saying, well, I need that too, and I need that too. No, you don't. What do you need? And then that way you can have everything. So it really comes back to your mindset. But I really liked what you said about time management and that's such a critical thing, especially for working mothers, because they do have more to do traditionally than the fathers do. It's unfair, but it just kind of happens that way. And sticking to that schedule. And then that way it makes it like less chaotic, and getting up early is such a key factor too.
And then I didn't touch on the fasting, the intermittent fasting, but like,
yes, I want to hear about this because I'm starving right now. It's early morning here and I'm like, should I eat? Should I not?
Well, you definitely should. So, when you think of the word breakfast, you have to break the fast. So what fast are you breaking? If you ate, a few hours ago, you're not breaking anything. So breakfast should really be, in my mind, a 12-hour cycle of fasting, in the sense that if you ate your last meal, at 8 o'clock, well, then you can have something at 8 o'clock in the morning, something very small. And when I mean small, it's almost like you want to prolong the fast even past the 12 hours, but you want to do it responsibly. So what I do is I'll always have my coffee, something small, like a juice at 8 ounces of something, or a yogurt, one of those Greek small Chobani yogurt cups, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And then around 2 in the afternoon, I'll have my first major meal of the day. So I or between 10 and 12, depending, but throughout these, I'll do a small, maybe scoop of nuts or something, where if I'm feeling, and you could feel your body slipping and you can't focus and your sugars are low, you don't have to go have a full meal. All you need is that tiny little sugar rush. So maybe it's a small juice, or maybe it's a boost, or I try to keep it liquid. So I'll always feed my body in the easiest way. So if it needs sugar, I'm not going to go have a meal, a big fruit cup where now I have to break down all that fruit. I'll go and I'll just get a shake right away, or I'll get a boost of a blended yogurt with a smoothie where my body is immediately feeding its need, because you're getting it directly, right? Especially if your stomach doesn't have to break down all of those nutrients, right? You're ingesting that much quicker. And then I bridge my way into that 2 o'clock route where I now have a bed of lettuce with any protein, but a good amount of protein, like a chicken breast, with some feta cheese, a little bit of olives, tomato. My big thing is dressing on the side. So I never, ever, ever allow any restaurant to give me the dressing inside. I always say dressing on the side, because the dressing is the culprit. So you can actually, in fact, eat extremely lean and green everywhere you go if you just order salad and add any kind of grilled protein to that salad and say dressing on the side, and ask for balsamic vinegar, not balsamic vinaigrette, balsamic vinegar. Then pour that balsamic vinegar just a little bit. It goes a long way. Some fresh lemon, and then the slightest of drizzle of olive oil, but not even where it's like anything meaningful. If you're eating with your lipstick on, when you're done your food, your lipstick should still be on. And if it's not, then whatever you ate had a high amount of oil and saturated fat in it. That's a key thing. So if you're eating a salad, if you're eating a salad,
amazing.
Yeah, I've experienced this personally. I can eat a salad with my lipstick on without wiping your mouth. And if at the end your lipstick is pretty, the color's there, then you ate a really healthy meal. If at the end your lipstick is all gone and your lips feel like moist, then you know that you had something that was, had oil in it, or a high derivative of fat content, or something that was more greasy. So even with omelets, I'll have egg white omelets, and I'll say when I'm traveling, I'll say, give me 5 egg whites and stuff it with as much spinach as you can. Spinach and feta, but just give me 5 egg whites, just dry. And so, that's 50 calories right there. 1 egg white is 10 calories. It's not a lot. You can even do 7 egg whites, 70 calories, stuff it with another 30 calories of spinach and a little bit of cheese. You have under 120 calorie, huge plate like that of just protein and straight up vegetable. So people look and say, how are you eating all that? But it's not, it's what's in it and how you're asking it to be prepared. You could do this all day, every day, and be on a very lean diet. Yeah.
That's amazing. I like that. It's like the lipstick test.
Oh yeah, the lipstick test is a big thing. And you know what? Let's go back to the rise of singles, because I wanted to talk about this. Because you're sitting here.
Yes, I wanted to make sure we got this.
And I'm telling you about this life of kids and a dog, and you're like, okay, I'm single. Except for the furry friend. So listen. Without a doubt, I researched this because I'm doing a whole show on it, the rise of the singles. I'm doing it with my friend Carmelia Ray. You might want to be part of it. She's a celebrity matchmaker.
I love that.
So she's hilarious. Like if you want to find somebody, Carmelia will find that man for you. So recent data predicts that 45% of women between ages 25 and 44 are going to be single and childless by the time 2030 rolls around. And the number of single women in the US is expected to rise by 1.2% every year. So you'd think that's not a big number, but it actually is.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about specific studies that Morgan Stanley published. So in 2019, Morgan Stanley, they published an article outlining women's impact on the American economy. And Madison, this was really fascinating. The number of what we're going to call prime working age women in the US has been increasing steadily, and most of them are single and completely focused on their career. And these women are going to continue to have a greater representation in the workforce, helping to boost wages, of course. That's what it all comes down to. And if you look at somebody who really put this into great perspective, there's an economist by the name of Ellen Zentner. Okay. She said, in the past, education or lower paying occupational choices largely drove the pay gap. Okay. But today, motherhood is by far the largest contributor to the wage gap, since women who become mothers often choose to stop working or work fewer hours. So what we're seeing is that the rise of single women are really paving the way here, because women who are delaying marriage or having kids are the sleeping giants of American politics. All right. So when you look at how that affects the economy and the on the economic and political front, it's a huge demographic, because right now there's a lot of women out there, right? Okay, so let's keep politics aside, but I'm gonna take it one step further. So when I say the sleeping giants of American politics, so how what they call single woke females are bucking conservative traditions and turning into critical voters who basically could give the Democrats the edge for the year to come, because they need a huge edge and they need an uptick in female voters. So right now there was a poll that we just looked at. Wow. CNN exit polls reveal that unmarried women voters elected Democratic House candidates by more than 2-1 margin. So if single unmarried women voters are in the historically in that path of electing Democratic House candidates by more than 2-1 margin. That's a big number. And at 42 million strong, single college educated women represent an extremely powerful voting bloc for Democrats. It's actually one of the most defining trends of this era. So believe me, and I'm not judging whether you're on the Republican ballot or you're on the Democratic ballot and who you're voting for. I'm just telling you that demographic on the rise is what the Democrats are banking a lot of their votes on.
So it's like the Democratic Party almost wants to keep women unmarried, childless, and single in a weird way. And maybe that was the rise of the feminist movement, which is a whole nother topic we won't even touch on right now.
You said it, not me. It's more beneficial to the Democrats for women to be, yes, independent and completely mindless of wanting to go down that family route, because that allows them to maintain voter integrity in the very ideals that the Democratic Party promotes. Now, that's not to say that the conservatives don't want to empower single white women, educated college women. That's not true, because the Conservative Party definitely wants to pave the way. But most registered conservative women in the demographic that we're looking at all have a lot of them are patriotic families, have kids. It's a very different demographic. So I want to say Gen Z and millennial women in that category, without a doubt, are of that woke mindset where, it's all about, she, her, he, they, he, all the gender pronouns, the rise of the pronouns, which are fine. I don't listen. I respect it. I don't, and listen, if somebody said, call me this, not that, sure. Yeah. I don't follow it because it's not the generation I grew up in. I just don't understand this. You are a man and you are a woman. And if you're confused, why are you trying to confuse me?
Right. No, exactly. I always say, let people do what they want to do as long as they're not hurting anybody else. Respect it and move on. It's just, I think that the thing in the society is, if you want people to respect your values and your beliefs, you also need to respect their values and their beliefs. And that's the problem where we run into a lot of conflict, is people saying, you have to respect what I believe, but I don't have to respect what you believe. No, it works both ways. So it's got to go across the table.
Oh, for sure. It's got to go across the table. And I know I just want to be mindful of the time here, but I also wanted to kind of talk about, where we are as women in a society, and really framing it in a sense where our voices need to be heard. We need to step out of the parameters that we've been used to living in, and the confined ideologies that we've been told we should be compliant to. And we need to start to really pave the way here for not just other women, but for the generation of little girls that we're raising. Because in America, if you really think of it, the rise of capitalism created this new facet for men to dominate. Okay. The ways in which even okay, let's think about the ways in which they sold products, right? The ways in which men sold products became a conduit to sell perceptions of the female body. Well, let me explain. Standards for beauty were most enforced by people with status in both ancient and modern households. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Status has been a consistent player throughout history. Everybody wants status, right? So those with status, they have power. Those with power have control over what people see and believe. And if you look back, Madison, to ancient civilizations, status defined what was beautiful. And in modern society, status remains the dominating factor in what defines the standards of beauty. Think of that.
Yeah.
So with the introduction of digital media, we have a new platform to display status, right? Powerful people share their likes, their dislikes, their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And this is all a new source for monetization. And in doing so, the public buys into a perception that is being marketed to them. And companies seem to pick and choose what's considered attractive. Because if you look at the capitalist economy, well, the capitalist economy discovered that insecurity sells more than anything else, right? Tabloids are notorious for targeting women's bodies,
Yep.
pushing a culture that acts as if certain body sizes are a trend. And in fact, women are still presented as sexual objects despite how far we've come. We are still objectified and turned into a prop for male attraction and then used to sell products.
Yeah.
That's
No.
still there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, and they're always exactly. So it's kind of like you have to just define your own thing. I remember I was going to a place, I was going to Miami actually, and I was asking a friend who lives down there. I said, what should I bring? And I was saying, is this outfit okay? And they're like, no. You jeans are not appropriate. You need to be very slutty, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, huh? Like, wait a second. So, but then you walk into these places and the males just look like they do everywhere else. They're not required to have a certain dress code.
Yeah,
but the women
exactly.
all of a sudden
They're
have
not...
to flaunt their shit. I'm like, huh? No, I'm wearing jeans and a tank top. End of story.
End of story. And you know, unfortunately, you just said it. You said it perfectly. You gave a real life scenario. Women can be complicit in their own subjugation. You just said it. Look, for centuries, women have bought into the misogynistic ideals of what beauty should be, right? We've actually fed the giant, and men set forth standards they wanted women to meet. And over time, guess what? Those standards became ingrained in women's lives, in our everything. So misogyny is not new, Madison. It's existed in antiquity. So why are we still buying into misogynistic ideals when we have the power to create our own narratives? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're a woman listening to this, you create that power by doing what you feel is right in your heart and your mind. You don't have to abide by what somebody says you must wear, you must do, or you must look like. Do what makes you feel good. And then that's how you're going to empower yourself and start to empower others. At least that's my opinion. So before we wrap up, I want to, you have a successful marriage, you have a great family. What are your tips for single women who want to break out of that statistic of the rise of singledom? Like, how do they find the one?
Okay. Here's what I'm going to say this. I said this to my sister all the time. She got divorced and she's on the market again, and she finally found somebody. They've been together 6 months.
Oh,
it's your network is your net worth. So there's certain ideals that I tell women you can't compromise on. Number one, you need to find somebody and you want to make sure that that person is in line with you in terms of kids or no kids. That is a deal breaker from the beginning, because you could find the most incredible partner, and guess what? They may not want any children, and you might have hopes that one day you will have a child, or vice versa. And no matter how much you love each other, this is going to be a frustration in the marriage. So you have to be aligned on a couple of things. Career has to be in alignment. He needs to be able to support your career, and you need to be able to support his. The schedule needs to support each other, and it needs to work harmoniously. Your schedules need to run parallel to each other, not perpendicular. That's extremely important. I always say, and my grandmother taught me this, you gotta let them love you a little bit more than you love them. It's okay
I've
if your
heard that.
man loves you a bit more, because as women, we love differently. But if that man rolls out the red carpet for you, treats you like that queen that you deserve to be treated, and is to the point where you feel not smothered, but wow, he loves you so much, then you got a good man on your hands. So always
Mhm.
make sure that you're not so infatuated with them that you can't see clearly. That's a no-no. Um, extremely important, Madison, career, how much money they make. I can't stress this. Every marriage, although you'll say will fail, if there's infidelity, if there's no trust, guess what? If there's no money, that marriage is failing just as quickly. So
Yeah.
if you are going to be of the mindset where you want to take some time off and be with your child if you have a baby, or if you want to take some time off and travel the world for your own reasons, right? That partner needs to be able to support you. So that support should be able to come in the form of anything should you need that support, and vice versa. I'm okay with a man making more money. It's okay. No one's
Yeah.
here to compete. That's fine. In fact, I like it better like that. Let the man make more money, because if you look at it financially in the bank accounts tally, he might make more. But if you look at it, you're making equal, because I'll tell you why. My husband built the empire that he has as a result of the 15 years of stability I have given him, making sure that I was there to hold the fort down when he was out working, making
Yeah.
sure that at the same time I was taking care of things that he would have not been able to take care of. So I afforded him the luxury to go out and kill it in his dreams by anchoring him down, and vice versa. So we built that empire together. And
Yeah.
that's what I always say. But his ability to make money is extremely critical. I need to know that my man can go out there and make money over and over again and reinvent himself over and over again, because he's educated, he's got the connections, he has the network, and he has the net worth. I can't be
Yeah.
worried about that. So extremely important. Make sure there's a good living, family oriented, and health.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
definitely want to make sure that you're marrying somebody that's healthy. We're not talking about disabilities. We're talking about health. Do they
Yeah.
drink excessively? Do they smoke excessively? Are they overweight? Do they have heart disease? This is all going to contribute to your happiness. So
Hmm.
all of these things are extremely important, but you got to start to look within the network you want to end up in. You can't be looking back here if you're over here. So all of this is aligned. And religion, lastly, I always say find somebody that's spiritual, not religious, because if they're spiritual and not religious, they will be able to bend. If they are religious and not spiritual, you got yourself a problem, a huge one. Because if somebody is just religious and they lack spirituality, then there's a vibe of extremism that might erupt out of nowhere because of that religion. Because religion
Right.
is just a means of control. Of course, you got to pray to God. My great grandmother died a nun. My current grandmother is the head of the archdiocese in Montreal, Canada. She's 84
Wow.
years old. Believe me, my husband is Jewish, right? So between Greek Orthodox and Jewish in the family, I'm a very spiritual person. Every religion counts, all
Yeah.
traditions count. We celebrate it all. We say thank you to God. And it doesn't matter how you pray, as long as you pray, be a good person. It's not like you're going to get to the gates of heaven and God is going to say, sorry, you believed in Jesus Christ and you believed in Buddha. You're going here and you're going there. Like, no one cares.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, totally. Exactly. No, that's very well said. I like that. And then who is this matchmaker person you said? Carmilla?
Carmelia Ray. You guys definitely
Car
have to Carmelia Ray, celebrity
Yes, hook it
matchmaker.
up.
We will hook it up. We will get Carmelia on here, and I will connect the two of you. You guys will definitely chat big dreams, because she's always looking for her next subject. Might be you.
Maybe it's me. I could use it, you know?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
see I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, I've got all my issues solved. I feel like I have a good head on my shoulders. I just released a great self-help book helping all these people. And I'm like, I'm lacking in this relationship area. It's the last piece of my life I need to fix.
It's so funny. My friend Joey Thurman, he's a author. He has a 2 3 books out. He goes on the handle on Instagram, Joey Fit Thurman.
Okay.
Trends well. He actually, I have to see, but we were talking about how he travels a lot and how people ask him about his love life, and he's like um he's very like private about it, because he's like, I have it all, but like there's certain areas that we don't have it all in, and it depends. You know who else could help you? Relationship Renegades. I have an expert couple. They go under the handle Relationship Renegades. Emilio Palafox and Rachel. Gosh, I don't know her last name, but Emilio Palafox and Rachel, they are a coaching couple. They're married. They're beautiful. First of all, they look like a Ken and Barbie doll. And then they do these amazing like retreats, but they're also like relationship coaches, and they have a great network of people. So you might want to hit them up too. Amazing.
Totally. I love it. I love it. I love it. This is great. So, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time. Tell everybody where they can find you again, also social media on top of the show.
So you could check me out on the gram. I'm all over social media. I go under one handle at Xen Sams with an X, not a Z. So XenSams. The show is called A Moment of Zen with an X, not a Z. We're all over iHeart, 710 WOR, Kathy Ireland's streaming platform, which is Your Home TV, FinTech TV, Wednesdays at 7 to 8 p.m. We go live. And we release on YouTube every Sunday at 2 p.m. So there's nowhere you can't find the show. I promise you. I promise you. Whether you want to hear us, watch us, download us, interact with us, tell us off, or praise us, you could find us.
I love that. So you guys definitely go follow her, check out the show. It's amazing. You are an incredible guest. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us and share your story. I love it.
Yeah, you got it, Mama. Thank you so much. Keep doing the good stuff you do.
Hey, thank you. And I will see you soon. All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope you got something so amazing and insightful out of this episode. If so, please share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to rate and subscribe. And we will see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@next2madison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.